Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about translation during the self-strengthening movement. My presentation is divided into three main parts. First, I will introduce briefly about the self-strengthening movement. Then I will talk about the School of Combined Learning, the translation in the School of Combined Learning. At last, I will talk about the Translation Bureau in Jiangnan Arsenal. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at the self-strengthening movement. So the self-strengthening movement, also known as the Westernization or Western Affairs movement, from 1861 to 1895, was a period of radical institutional reforms initiated in China during the late Qing dynasty, following the military disasters of the Opium Wars. So next, let's talk about the School of Combined Learning. The School of Combined Learning, or the Tongwenguan, was a government school for teaching Western languages and later scientific subjects, founded at Beijing, China in 1862 during the late Qing dynasty. Right after the conclusion of the Second Opium War, as part of the self-strengthening movement, its establishment was intimately linked to the establishment of the Zongli Yamen, which is the Qing Office of Foreign Affairs. When the college was first started in 1862, it only had 10 students and only English instruction under John S. Burden, a British missionary. By 1866, astronomy and mathematics were added, and enrollment was up to the 10th. In 1869, Dr. William Alexander Parsons Martin, a famed American missionary and translator in China, was appointed the first dean of studies. By 1877, the school had expanded to teach English, French, German, Russian, and Japanese, as well as chemistry, medicine, machine making, astronomy, mathematics, geography, and international law, and enrollment was over 100. Similar colleges were later set up at Canton and Shanghai. Tongwenguan published several influential works introducing Western knowledge into China. These schools became the pioneering vehicles of Western studies. The college's operation were interrupted by war in 1900. So next, let's talk about the Translation Bureau in Jiangnan Arsenal. After the First Opium War, Western newspapers began to be translated into Chinese as a means of obtaining information about the West. And after 1851, this was expanded to Western books. These efforts were spearheaded by the Tongwenguan and the Jiangnan Arsenal, and distributed throughout the country. The Jiangnan Arsenal translated a total of 143 Western books in the period of 1868 to 1879. Chinese intellectual enthusiasm for Western science soared. So the Jiangnan Arsenal, a publicly funded bureau dedicated to the production of military equipment in late Qing China, was established in response to China's painful defeat in the two Opium Wars. The Arsenal's translation department, staffed by a total of 50 Chinese scholars and 9 Westerners at different times, was set up in 1868 to translate and publish translations of Western books and treatises on science and technology. It was the first official unit charged with this task. Its stated pragmatic function was to assist the arsenal technicians in the production of weapons, although the translations were also marketed to outsiders. So, if we will organically, the Arsenal's translation department was in many ways a reflection of the ideological and social transformations experienced by China, the Chinese scribes, the Western oral translators in the late 19th century. So a study of this translation institution is therefore relevant to translation studies in three aspects. So first, the Arsenal's 4 decades of existence and its emphasis on the function of translation suggest the importance of translation to Imperial China's pursuit of modernization. Second, the voluminous translated texts published by the Arsenal reflect the collaborative efforts of Western missionaries and Chinese literati, typical in the second half of the 19th century. So the last thing I want to mention is that the Arsenal's combined role, encompassing both translation and publication, inspired the emergence of journals that published translated articles on Western science, technology, social sciences, and literature at the turn of the 20th century. China's modernization agenda was significantly advanced by the broader exposure to Western ideas, even though the direct role played by the Arsenal remained rather limited. So that's all of my introduction of the translation during the self-strengthening movement. Thanks for listening.